You screamed, you begged, you explained, and still they dismissed you, still they mocked you, still they walked away, confident they'd won. Oh, how delightful their ignorance, because the truth, the loudest revenge, isn't a shout, it's silence. The moment you stop reacting is the moment they start unraveling. I'm not here to give you advice. I'm here to hand you the riddle, one they'll spend years trying to solve and fail. Let's begin. Society has trained you to perform your pain, to air grievances like courtroom evidence, hoping fairness will finally arrive. But fairness, that's not justice, that's theater. And in theater, the loudest actor gets the spotlight, not the truth. Every time you justify yourself to someone who's already decided you're beneath them, you hand them the script they get to rewrite. Their narrative grows stronger. Yours? It gets drowned in echo. You think explanation is power. No. Explanation is permission. Permission for them to judge, dissect, and dismiss you again. Watch what happens when a child throws a tantrum in a crowded room. The adults lean in, some to soothe, some to scold. But what if the child simply stops, turns away, walks out? Suddenly, the tantrum isn't about the child anymore. It's about the void they left behind. That's silence. That's where doubt begins to creep in. That's your first clue. Silence isn't emptiness, it's redirection. When you withdraw your energy, you force the world to confront the echo of its own assumptions, and that is where their certainty starts to crack. Silence isn't passive, it's architectural. You're not hiding, you're designing. Every withheld reply, every unsent message, every ignored provocation is a brick in a fortress they didn't know was being built until they try to knock and find no door. Think of silence as encryption. When you stop broadcasting your inner state, you render yourself unreadable. And the human mind, it abhors an unsolved variable. They'll replay your last words, your last expression, your last absence. They'll fabricate motives, invent guilt, even rewrite history, all to fill the silence you refuse to clutter. That's not weakness. That's psychological leverage. Ever noticed how the most devastating lines in film are the ones not spoken? The look, the pause, the turning away. That's because silence bypasses logic and strikes straight at the limbic system, the seat of fear, shame, and longing. You don't need to condemn someone when your calm indifference does it more convincingly. And here's the riddle they'll never solve. Why isn't he angry? Why isn't she begging? Why do they seem unbothered? That question will haunt them far longer than any accusation ever could, because deep down, they needed your reaction to feel justified. And without it, their victory collapses like a house of cards in a vacuum. This isn't about punishing others. This is about liberating yourself. Every ounce of energy you spent seeking validation, correcting misperceptions, or proving your worth, that was stolen time, stolen peace, stolen self. Silence gives it all back. Not in a burst, but in a slow, steady tide of reclaimed sovereignty. When you choose silence, you're not shutting down, you're tuning in. To your breath, your boundaries, your inner rhythm. You stop outsourcing your self-worth to people who never had the credentials to assess it in the first place. And in that stillness, you hear something rare, your own voice again. Clear, unapologetic, unedited. I've watched empires crumble, not from war, but from withdrawal. Scientists who stopped publishing, artists who vanished mid-masterpiece, leaders who stepped back and let the chaos reveal its own absurdity. Their silence wasn't retreat, it was reconnaissance. They weren't gone, they were reloading, and when they returned, they didn't argue, they redefined. So ask yourself, what version of me emerges when I stop performing for their courtroom? Not the wounded one, not the pleading one, the one who walks away, not because they won, but because the game was never worth winning. That version doesn't need revenge. They've already won. They're free. Here's the final riddle. Not for them, for you. What if the moment you stopped fighting for their understanding, was the exact moment you became impossible to ignore. Not through noise, not through vengeance, but through the sheer unsettling weight of your presence, unshaken, unmoved, unexplained. That's when they realize you were never the problem. You were the mirror, and mirrors don't argue. They simply reflect until the viewer can no longer bear their own distortion. So let them wonder, let them guess, let them rewrite history in frantic loops, searching for the flaw in your silence, only to find nothing, no trail, no weakness, just the quiet, unassailable truth. You chose yourself, and in a world addicted to reaction, that choice is revolutionary. If this resonated, if it stirred something deep, something true, then you're not just watching a video, you're solving a riddle. Subscribe, because the most powerful choices aren't loud. They're deliberate, they're silent, and they heal. Not just you, but the very air around you. Smash that like button, not for me, but as your first public act of alignment, a silent signal to the universe. I'm done performing, I'm ready to become. The answer was never in the noise, it was always in the pause.